Hey everybody, Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here to give you an update on the next couple of weeks. We're going to start with the new moon in Libra, which happens for me where I'm at, which is Central US time, at 4:54 p.m. September 25th. That's Sunday here from Birmingham, Alabama. So check your local time and date. Could be a little different depending on where you are in the world. I'm here to give you an educated guess on what the next 2 weeks are going to look like. That's basically what astrology is, kind of like weather forecasting, kind of like economic forecasting. It's the same thing. We look at the past and history and how it lines up with the movement of the planets in our solar system, and we assign themes to them and archetypes, and it helps us to, I don't know, maybe get an edge on reality a little bit. Let's see. So last time, I've got to fix my hair here. Last time I did the rising signs separately, and I'm going to do that again this time. So first, we're going to go over a collective sort of what's going on, how does it feel, and then separately, you can check your rising sign for how it's even more specific to your life. Okay, so these next couple of weeks are kind of crazy, I have to admit. I wrote a lot of notes on my Strongman safety products thing here. A lot of notes. It's every day, like there's something going on every day. So let me show you the chart really quick for the new moon in Libra, which happens at 2 degrees of Libra. Here we go. So Sun and Moon together, Venus and Mercury are together. Oh, I love it. I love Venus and Mercury together. It is Mercury retrograde, though. Talk about that, huh? And as you see, the new moon is opposite to Jupiter here. And then Venus and Mercury are trine to Pluto, and they are opposing Neptune with a few degrees there, or if it's not much. And then Mars is trine to Saturn. That's the moving parts we have going. And then there's one big red line here, Saturn square Uranus. So what does this mean? First of all, a new moon is a time of setting intentions. We plant seeds in a new moon. Literally, farmers plant seeds at new moons. So it's a good and fertile time to start things. And then what types of things are we looking at? Well, Libra, when the sun moves to 0 degrees of Libra, it's the equinox, which we've just had, equal day, equal night. So Libra is the scales, it's justice, it's fairness, peace. And then we also have relationship being a Libran theme here. That is relationship with others in your life. It can be relationships with things. A lot of times this does have a lot to do with, friendships, romantic partnerships, clients, things of that nature. So that's what we set new intentions on. I think it's the opposition to Jupiter in Aries that is definitely something to pay attention to here. So Jupiter's been in Aries for most of 2022, started in the spring around March, I believe late March, early April, Jupiter moved into Aries. What is Jupiter? Jupiter is truth. It is philosophy. It is exploration. It's also expansion. So Jupiter rules travel, especially foreign travel. Jupiter rules other cultures, but it also is philosophical in nature and what you believe, your worldview. So in Aries, that is our identity, who we are as people. And Aries and Libra exist opposite each other for a reason. Aries is us, our bodies, our ego, how we take action, our identity, our autonomy, our independence, all of that is Aries. And then we've got Libra, which is other people. How do we fit into this world that is filled with other people? These two things can't exist without each other, right? So, I mean, can you imagine if you were all alone in the world, you were the only human on this planet? Would you even it's like, how do you see yourself? We do that through relationship. They exist in duality with one another. So we have been exploring with Jupiter what we believe about ourselves, about what the nature of being is, honestly. What does it mean to be independent? What does it mean to be authentic? Who, how do we identify? How are we seen? All of these things are Aries in nature. And also our ego and how we take action. So we've sort of been on an exploration journey here, looking at what we believe about this part of our lives, about the nature of me, the nature of I, that is Aries. So the new moon in Libra, which is relationship and also justice and how the scales are balanced, is like, okay, so we've been doing all of this research, you can kind of say, with Jupiter into who we are as people and what we want to do, how we want to take action, how we want to move through the world. Now that we've done all that, let's look at relationship and check on that for a minute and see how that's going. We may need to adjust some things here in relationship. We may need to balance some things out. And these two things are kind of like on each side of a scale, balancing out me and others. Okay, so there's something else cool here, and that is the ruler of Libra. Every sign has a ruler, is Venus. Venus rules relationship. It also rules values. Venus rules two signs, Libra and Taurus. Okay, so Venus can be values. That's more of a Taurus thing. And it's relationship. That's more of a Libra thing. Venus is beauty, aesthetics. And Venus is in Virgo, which is Mercury's territory. Mercury also rules two signs, by the way, Gemini and Virgo. Mercury is how we think, how we do things. That's more of the Virgo. How we think is more of the Gemini, how we communicate. Virgo is how we discern and how we prune and how we organize life. So Mercury is retrograde in Virgo right now, and there is a certain need to make lists and maybe rethink how we do things on a day-to-day basis with Mercury retrograde. Mercury was retrograde. It started in Libra, which is Venus ruled. So you see where I'm going with this. Venus and Mercury are feeding off of each other right now. They're really in some deep talks. They're figuring things out. Venus is like, okay, so we need to think about our relationships. How do we serve? That's a Virgo thing. How do our relationships serve us? That's more of a Libra opposite Jupiter and Aries thing. And then, do we need to be honest? That's what I'm going to get at. Very, very like, that is the nature of this new moon in Libra, is honesty. It is getting clear. That's what that is. So there's this other thing, Venus and Mercury together, we're thinking about our relationships and how we communicate in our relationships and our values in relationship. And we're getting very clear on maybe even the routine of relationship, okay? How we work together. And it's trying to Pluto and Capricorn. Pluto is honesty, okay? Pluto is transformation, it's power, and oftentimes it can reveal secrets. That is a Pluto thing. In Capricorn, that's rules and structure. So we have Mercury and Venus in a nice supportive trine with Pluto. And that to me indicates, yes, I think honesty is the best policy right now. That is our power, getting very clear. It's almost a service to others to be honest. I had my own experience with that recently. Someone hurt my feelings, and it was not someone I'm very close to, more like an acquaintance that I'm just kind of around. And I really had to think about it for a second. And there's something that I've realized, and that is when I don't speak up for things that either I don't agree with or hurt my feelings, and I hold anger and resentment, it makes it impossible to move forward. So, after thinking about it for about 5 minutes, where I walked away and I thought, I've got to be honest with this person, or our relationship is going to be ruined and it's not even started, and we're just in a working relationship. But I was like, I feel like what you said was rude and it hurt my feelings because what I've been doing, I've put a lot of energy into. And this person apologized to me and it immediately cleared the air. It immediately allowed this person to see where I was coming from, whereas I would have been doing them a disservice by not telling them. That's something I had focused on, put a lot of energy into, and their opinions on the subject really felt like a direct affront, to me, because it hurt. So, and maybe that experience is kind of like coming through because I know the astrology of the moment. And that's helpful too. I mean, because I was thinking about it. I was like, wow, Mercury's in Virgo, Venus is there. We got new moon and Libra coming up, Jupiter and Aries. I've got to just tell this person who I am. I do myself a disservice if I don't. Who I am, what drives me. It's honesty is the best policy right now, but that requires you to accept yourself and know yourself as well. And that's Jupiter and Aries. So you have to really be clear on who you are. What are your convictions? And then speak truth to those, and balance this relationship, this thing in reality known as me and then me in a relationship. So it is, to a certain extent, standing up for yourself, and there's a power in that with Mercury and Venus trine Pluto. Now, there's something else going on that's sort of adjacent to the new moon, and that's Mars in Gemini, which is Mercury ruled sign. So it kind of looks back to the Venus and Mercury conjunction, even Mars in Gemini. Now, by the way, Mars is slowing down. Mars will retrograde in Gemini. Okay. Um, and Mars right now, it's direct. It hasn't gone retrograde yet, but it's trine to Saturn. Okay. So this is really nice for moving forward in this kind of bird's eye view way. Gemini is how we think and communicate. And Mars is putting a lot of energy there. So there may be some heightened need to communicate who we are. Now let's think about it. Jupiter and Aries is ruled by Mars and Gemini. All of these things are connected right now. I love this. I love the configuration of this, how Jupiter in Aries is opposite the new moon. And both of those, Jupiter's answering to Mars, new moon's answering to Venus. Mars is looking at Mercury, where it's in its ruled sign, and Mercury is with Venus. So this all comes back to relationship and to being honest and communication. And then the trine to Saturn, Saturn's in its home sign, so it's holding down the fort, right? Saturn is in Aquarius, which is goals, large groups of people, and innovation. And we're really trying to innovate the structures in our lives. So even to that extent, Pluto is ruled in Capricorn by Saturn in its home sign. So all of these things are just clicking into place like a nice puzzle. And it boils down to communicating clearly about who we are in this reality, in our relationships, whether it be acquaintances, friendships, work relationships. But that requires us to accept ourselves, to be honest with ourselves about ourselves. It's pretty insane to kind of like, whoa, all right, here we go. No more moving forward in a fake way. We can't do that right now. Mercury's retrograde. It's just impossible. Now, there is something to be said about Mars going retrograde at the end of October. So we will rethink some things, but I think for now, honesty is the best policy. Obviously, not if you know that's going to hurt someone. Like it's really important to be honest in a kind way. Mercury and Venus and Virgo. Virgo is service to humanity. It's healing. So we're definitely not out for blood. I mean, that's not what we're doing. Not trying to stir up drama, create waves. No, this is like be honest from a place of vulnerability. Brene Brown comes to mind during this time. Okay. I think that kind of covers the new moon and how we are really looking forward to moving forward in relationship with a very clear and honest approach. Okay. Now let's look at the things coming up in the next couple of weeks. Keep in mind, I will go over your rising sign on a separate video for what this, indicates for you even more specifically. Okay. So we got the new moon, Sunday, September 25th. I've got that pulled up. Monday, September 26th, the sun actually opposes Jupiter exactly. So the new moon is just a tiny little bit off. It's at 2 degrees 48 minutes with Jupiter at 3 degrees 48 minutes. It's 1 degree off. Wow, that's 1 degree exactly. And then we move to September 26th, and the sun actually opposes Jupiter exactly. Here we are, Jupiter at 3 degrees 40 minutes, and the sun 3 degrees. So it's like what time here in the central US? The exact opposition of the sun to Jupiter looks like it's around 2 p.m. Central US. So as you see, it's not just that we've got on Monday. We've also got the exact Venus Mercury conjunction, and that's an exact, I mean, a few minutes off from being an exact trine to Pluto. So I say this energy from the new moon, which is quiet, it's contemplative, it's not like out right now. Okay, we're like, especially with Mars trine to Saturn, um, and Venus and Mercury trine to Pluto, it's a little quiet. New moons are quiet as well. So we're contemplating maybe keeping this stuff to ourselves, maybe thinking about how we want to do the honesty thing, who we want to be honest with. Maybe, we're hoping someone is honest with us. Maybe we're like, am I honest with myself? But we're exploring these things Sunday and Monday, deeply, I would say. I will say this too. It looks like Mercury can join Venus September 13th, 2019 at very close to the same degree. It was at 28 degrees of Virgo. It may be worth looking back to September 13th, 2019, which is right before the world exploded. Maybe worth it. Something to note. Also, December 29th of 2021 was a Venus Mercury conjunction with Pluto. Another date to look at to kind of tune into these themes and see if they're rhyming. Okay, so yeah, moon. Oh, the moon is also trining Mars and Saturn at this time. So this is really nice. So Monday has a very grounded feeling. Moon in Libra, trine to Mars, trine to Saturn. Now it's all in air signs, which is inherently not grounded. So it's like a communication, a grounding of communication. Now Mercury is still retrograde, so there is still that little kind of, we're thinking about it differently, but maybe reestablishing some communication and a relationship of some sort, or finding out some information, doing some research. So that's really nice. Something to note that we're getting closer to, because as you can see, the darkest red line here is Saturn square Uranus. Okay, Saturn square Uranus, you guys. That was major in 2021. It had 3 squares. Saturn is the rules. Uranus is how we break them. Uranus is liberation, upheaval, revolution. And when you have attention to the rules and the structures, especially in regards to the society at large, that's Aquarius, how we structure things in society. Saturn in Aquarius is when we had lockdowns, y'all. Lockdowns happened when Saturn went into Aquarius, okay? And then, of course, we had Uranus and Taurus, which is, how we're comfortable. And that was all turned upside down, obviously, with Uranus and Taurus. And our values began to change. And then we also had that tension between the rules enforced on society and how we like to govern our own lives. We like to be free. Tension, right? That happened 3 exact times in 2021. The last square, which is not exact, but it is literally like 37 minutes, which is less than a degree apart, from October 2nd through, where did I write it down? 4 through 6 is the 37-minute from being exactly square, October 4 through 6. But we're getting close even now, even right now as I'm recording this on Saturday, September 24th. So that is building to its last closest square, which is interesting. They're both retrograde. And so, you may see some themes from 2021 come up, between how we break the rules and how we follow them, between the need for freedom and a changing of our values, and then the way we structure our lives. Okay. So that is an undertone. And I want to say that before we move on, because every day has that. It's active every day. There is this push pull between how we structure our lives and then how we break free and gain freedom. And this is heavily to do with our values, money, supply chain, something like that, okay? And Saturn, how we structure society and the changes we're making there. Um, I could say more. Mars and Gemini. Mars is a malefic in traditional astrology, meaning it can cause trouble. And Gemini is transportation, commerce. So this is something to think about throughout the fall. Knowing Mars is going to go retrograde, there were like the last Mars retrograde in Gemini that was similar to this was in 1943 to 44 in the middle of World War II. So there was a lot of train and transportation stuff happening, okay? And I found it extremely interesting. I mean, it was a Saturn-Uranus conjunction. We're in a Saturn-Uranus square, okay? I find it very interesting that we almost had the train strike with Mars and Gemini already. Now, I plan on doing a Mars and Gemini video. Y'all, I've been making so many notes, okay? And the research is deep on Mars retrograde in Gemini. It starts October 30th. See, I still haven't moved past September 26th, but I'm giving you some overviews because these things are building, okay? We're getting closer. Mars is getting closer to slowing down, even in early September. Saturn and Uranus, that square is there. So these things are undertones and they're necessary to talk about before I even go through the next couple of weeks. So think about transportation, communication, commerce, okay? Especially with Saturn square Uranus, supply chain, things of that nature. Just need to have that in your minds. Monday, there's a grand trine in it, and maybe there will be some news coming out about that kind of a thing. Okay, and then Venus and Mercury retrograde are exactly conjoined trine Pluto. That itself has a lot to do with Uranus and Taurus, which is looking at Venus. Mars and Gemini looking at Mercury. They're together, Mercury retrograde in Virgo. So, yeah. I just said like a mouthful, so I'm like pausing for a second. Now I'm going to Tuesday, September 27th. Okay, we got the moon squaring Pluto, sort of like smack dab in the middle of the day, which is interesting since Mercury is still trine Pluto. This is something to look at, I think, a brief moment, looks like first thing in the morning, around 10 and 11, of needing to empower ourselves, maybe needing to be honest in a relationship. This comes up heavily on, whoa, I just saw something. Forgive me, forgive me. It's really cool looking though. I'm going to show you guys. I'm such a nerd. I don't even care. Let me draw this because I think it's really cool. Okay. So we've got this configuration here. This is a semi-square with the moon. That's what that is. And then we've got that with Uranus square Saturn and Mars trine Uranus. That's so interesting. It's very much pointing at this Saturn. Saturn in Aquarius, Pluto in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn in Aquarius. Everything's kind of hinging on how we structure things and rules and government. Saturn is government. Aquarius is the future. Pluto is transformation of rules. So interesting. Just had to point that out. Pretty cool. I love to look at the different configurations in a chart. I think it, adds a certain extra layer of divination here. Ooh, don't let me say the bad word, divination. People get really, really up in arms about that word. I am not. I think we humans need the help. If making a choice is rolling the dice anyway, you might as well let something decide, right? Okay, so that was, I digress. Around 7 p.m., the moon moves into Scorpio, and we're kind of in the depths of our root chakra around this time. I mean, this is heavy Pluto Mars energy at this point. Moon doesn't really like to be in Scorpio. It has to think about the things that it stuffs way down. It kind of uncovers especially with the South Node there, our patterns, the things that drive us, the things where we're maybe a little overly obsessive. So Moon and Scorpio time can be a little interesting. And there's something else to note when the moon moves into Scorpio that will oppose Uranus in Taurus and will square Saturn in Aquarius. My allergies have been crazy. Forgive me for keeping on scratching my nose. This, highlights the Saturn square to Uranus when the moon is in Scorpio. And it can make that tension very heavy. And then we realize something has to give. And unfortunately, it looks like the thing that has to give needs to maybe be looked at in order to release some pressure is in Scorpio. So things that maybe we hold on to emotionally, trauma is being uncovered, secrets are being looked at, our deepest desires that we don't even acknowledge about ourselves is being looked at when the moon is in Scorpio, which is Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's worth it to note that 7 p.m. Tuesday, it moves into Scorpio, and then we go, I'm going to say Wednesday around midday is when it starts to heat up with the fixed T-square here, with the moon opposing Uranus square to Saturn. Then there's also the fact that Mars is exactly trine Saturn that day. I love that. I feel like we can really get some stuff done with Mars trine Saturn. So if you've had to work on a project or something of that nature, this is a good time to do that, to dive into research. It's also good to communicate how you want to structure things to people. Yeah, so the moon is applying to that square all day Wednesday. So Wednesday is pretty much a highlight for moon and Scorpio, and it being a little tense. It's like my values are shifting. I need to restructure. I need to think about the future because I've got to build the framework to support my new values. And then all of a sudden moon in Scorpio is like, yeah, well, you're gonna have to let go of something or face your fear. Sorry, it's Wednesday. Happy hump day. Okay. All right. So Thursday, and these times may be off for you. Don't forget this. It would be different if you live in England, for instance, or South America. So maybe not so different in South America, but West Coast, a little different timing wise. It may be morning for you where it's midday for me. So just check. I would maybe give it a day or two on either side if you're in a different place. So Thursday, September 29th, Venus moves into Libra. Here we are, Venus in Libra now. See, it's not with Mercury. That's nice because it will immediately oppose Jupiter. Venus is a benefic, it brings benefit. Jupiter, a benefic, benefit. When you have the two opposing each other, now this does bring up the relationship matters and then the identity, autonomy, authenticity. So, but I think we're supported in it with Venus opposing Jupiter. We're finding the truth. We are coming to an understanding of some sort. So that's really nice. And especially later into Thursday because the moon will sextile Pluto. I love that. It'll trine Neptune. Yeah, this is Thursday evening. And we've got some really supportive energies, really diving deep into our psyches and our spirits, and also understanding something about the way we need to move forward with Venus and Jupiter. So I like Thursday evening. And then when the moon moves into Sag overnight, the moon, as we wake up, will be, well, I mean, it'll start to separate, but it'll be sextile Venus and trine Jupiter. And that's also really great. So Thursday and Friday, the 29th and 30th, especially more toward the evening Thursday, looking really good. Venus is in its what's called domicile, its home sign in Libra. So we're really supported. And this Venus is just going to keep applying to an opposition with Jupiter. Money, relationships, we're feeling ourselves as well, feeling like connected, I would say. The one caveat I'll give that is the fact that Venus is ruling Uranus, square Saturn. So, there may be some surprises, some things out of left field. They may be good. I hope they are. And then Mercury retrograde, it's Mercury is starting to slow down on September 30th. So keep that in mind. It's about to turn direct. And as it does that, will oppose Neptune. And Neptune is spirituality, dreams, but it's also confusion, it's mysticism. So there may be it may feel magical. Watch out for the rose-colored glasses. I'm going to say that. I think it's helpful that it's trying to Pluto, though. Okay. So Saturday, Mercury stations, it starts to slow down and stop. This is October 1st. Moon is in Sagittarius. Something to note is when we wake up, the moon will be opposite Mars. Okay, this is high. I have a star by this date, okay? And it's Saturday, which is like, come on, can't we just have fun? But something comes to the surface. Let's just say that. So what we've got is a mutable Grand Cross. It's the moon opposing Mars. That can be very emotionally triggering. Not gonna lie. Moon is emotions. It's in Sagittarius. It just wants to have fun. But Mars is in Gemini. This may be debate with someone. And then also it's square to Mercury and Neptune stationing, meaning Mercury slowing down. Neptune's retrograde, but Mercury, see this S here means stationing. It's stopping. Okay, so Saturday, high alert, high alert. Mercury opposite Neptune is a little bit of confusion. Like we may not know what to say if we're debating, okay? Like we may need to go, okay, I just don't want to debate. I'd rather, let's go on a hike or something. That's what this feels like. It can be high emotions and harsh words. I don't know how else to look at this. That means Mercury is squaring Mars. It won't exactly square Mars. Something to note by the time it goes retrograde. But it gets pretty close to it as Mercury stations. It's 4 degrees away. So I'm putting this high on the list. And it's all day Saturday, okay? We do have something helpful. Venus opposite Jupiter, Venus in Libra. That's helpful, I think. And Mercury trine Pluto, helpful. So there's something about speaking our truth and empowering ourselves, but we may need to face our fears when we're doing that, like really trying to explain who we are, as people. Another helpful thing, moon sextile Saturn. So we know where we're going. We know what we're trying to get to in the future. It's just kind of it's funny. I think I have to go to a dinner party that night with people who love to debate. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to report back to y'all about that. All right. All right, let's move into Sunday. Because as we get later into October 1st, the moon moves into let's see, the moon's void, isn't it? It's a void, of course. It's last. The dreams may be crazy around Saturday night because the moon exactly squares Neptune. And there can be this magical nature about it. I just worry about people going off the rails. Like, don't drink too much on Saturday. That's what I worry about, honestly. Sunday morning, October 2nd, Mercury is direct at this point, I believe. No, it's still stationing. It's still a little bit retrograde. But it's still slowing down. Moon moves into Capricorn Sunday, first thing, and it will square. This is the first quarter square of the moon. So basically, the new moon, which is September 25th, we set this intention for relationship. And, to be ourselves and even to find out more about how we're seen in relationship. Well, Sunday rolls around and we have it's the first like having to take action on that. So the moon's in Capricorn, also not a great place for the moon, doesn't really like to be there because Capricorn's kind of a cold sign. Capricorn says, these are the rules and this is what we need to do to be successful. So there is that tension, like, okay, let's look at the rules and the boundaries. Do we need to do anything with those in order to make the relationship work, in order to be in our truth, in our authenticity? So there's something with the rules and structures and foundations around Sunday that we may have to lay down stronger boundaries. We may have to compromise on our boundaries around that day. Think of yourself in the future. Think of future years, you, Saturn and Aquarius. Okay, so Sunday, moon's traveling through Capricorn. It's gonna, yeah, really, I think that's the biggest, it's the first quarter square of the moon, the biggest aspect it makes. So Monday, we wake up, moon's trining Uranus. So this can trine to Uranus. Oh, and it's trining Mercury as well. So it's like kind of in the middle of trying to both Mercury and Uranus around early morning. So this is good. It's allowing us to shift something in our lives and giving us a way to do it. Mercury direct now, October 3rd. Mercury is moving forward. Yay. And the moon trines that. And it's like, now things are like firing on all cylinders. I do like that. I do. So I think Monday, if there is any tension to be had over the weekend, Monday is like kind of fixing it, if that makes sense. All right. Let's see. What else do I have written down for Monday? Oh, yeah, the moon conjoins Pluto. This is at night and it trines Mercury, which has been sitting there. So, I'm, this is a way forward. It's like we're healing something with Mercury and Virgo. Virgo does well with knowing how to organize things, how and discern and get to the details. So that's what's happening Monday night. It was like getting down to the nitty-gritty. If we need to clean something, it needs to be done Monday. We can't take it anymore. We got to do it that night. Paperwork needs to be gone through. That's the night that it happens, is Monday, October 3rd. So it's a good night to like organize, clean, get stuff done. Probably even a good day for it, honestly. All right, so Tuesday, October 4th, the moon's in Aquarius, and it moves into Aquarius like right before we wake up in Central Time. So this is like around 6 a.m. or something. So it's like while we're sleeping. The good thing about moon in Aquarius, it trines Venus. So Tuesday also looks really nice. Little sextile Jupiter as we wake up. Like Tuesday for that. The moon trine Venus is exact for us in Central Time. Like I'm gonna give it actually I'm gonna give it all day as it sextiles Jupiter as well. That's but it's exact in the afternoon. And the reason I'm telling you this is it's always an auspicious time to do something with the moon trine Venus, especially if it requires relationships, networking, goals. That exact conjunction is at 5:04 p.m. if it matters, Central US time. But the whole day is really auspicious with the moon sextile Jupiter and trine to Venus. Anything else for Tuesday the 4th? No. Wednesday the 5th, the moon conjoins Saturn. Okay, this is the thing. This is the whole thing, because this is going to really bring up the square to Uranus. And we may really be feeling the wall of Saturn around that time and the need to break free around that time. So yeah, it really amps up morning time. It's past Saturn and past the square to Uranus by 2 p.m. And then it trines Mars and Gemini. So I think, yeah, probably the morning of Wednesday may feel a little frustrating. I'm just going to say that. But then it resolves really fast. I like that. Thank goodness. Yeah, resolves by the evening. We can take action. We can take action by Wednesday evening, I'm sorry. Thursday, October 6th, the moon moves into Pisces. And whoop, whoop, that is circus territory, okay? I can't help but say it that way. It's really something to note. Moon in Pisces is very spiritually connected, very dreams, mystical. But there's something that this moon in Pisces will do. It just won't do it till the next day. So enjoy, I'm going to say enjoy October 6th. Mercury's trine Pluto. The sun is actually getting close to an opposition with Chiron, which can be a little bit of a sensitive point. So I just don't, just trying to see, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know that this is a super frustrating day, Thursday, October 6th. It kind of has a mixture of easy and a mixture of tension. So looks like we may just want to like kind of be in our dream world on Thursday, October 6th, which I like. Why not? Friday is when it starts to amp up. Mars moves to the 22nd degree. And why is that important? Let me show you. Let's just get to close to it. All right. So I just have 1 p.m. pulled up here on Friday, October 7th. And Mars is square to Neptune. And you see the moon is there. The moon always visits when it's important. Like for instance, when the moon hits Saturn, that's exact square to Uranus. Moon hits Neptune, very close to a square with Mars. And also Mercury is sitting there pretty well opposite of it. So we got this T square. So that's kind of interesting. I think it's going to bring up the, let's see, what date that was the moon in Sag. It's going to bring up reflections from the Saturday, October 1st. I'm going to say that for sure. So something to note. It may be the desire to take action on something, but lacking the emotional gumption. I mean, moon conjunct Neptune is like, let's just forget it all. I just want to go to sleep. So it may be a non-starter kind of day, and also maybe a day when you feel disillusioned. Maybe you learned something that you weren't aware of before, and it's like, really, are you kidding me? This is really the way it's going to go. Especially with Mercury's exact trine to Pluto. So Friday is a little wonky. I'm going to say that. We also have another big thing happening on Friday. If I go forward a few hours, let's see. Does it hit it? Yeah. So let me clear that off. Sorry, I should have set it to 0 Aries, but I didn't. All right. So we got Pluto. See that little S there? That means Pluto stationing. That's a big deal. So we got the moon pretty well sextile to Pluto, opposite to Mercury, which is trine to Pluto. Mars square to Neptune, square to Mercury. It's making this really weird configuration. But I think it's significant that Mercury is trining Pluto when it's stationing, when it's standing still. I mean, there's something there. Pluto direct is it's got a very wide breadth of area that it affects, meaning days wise. Like I would say it's definitely emphasizing Friday and Saturday. But Pluto's an outer planet. It moves really slow. So this is more like big tides turning, if that makes sense. But our minds are aware of it with Mercury there. Okay. And moon, I mean, like kind of strange. So, and this is also Sun Chiron. So sensitive, yeah. Healing, yeah. I mean, both of those things. Usually we can only heal something when we're aware that it hurts. It's like when we're aware of something being off. Chiron in Aries is really trying to heal us from a authenticity standpoint. Sun in Libra is like, are we being seen for what we're trying to do? Is a relationship opening up a wound for us? So that can be the case around that time. Saturday, there's a lot going on, just a lot going on. Okay. I would say, it's more abstract though. There's like, there's tension, but it's abstract. It's spiritual, it's mental in nature. It's not like physical, except for maybe the Chiron part of it. Okay, so then what happens is we move into full moon territory. And just before the full moon, which I'll go ahead and give you on Saturday, October 8th, the moon hits Jupiter. And that's really nice. The moon Jupiter is always like this very expansive feeling. Um, Mars is coming into a pretty close square with Neptune here. I mean, we're amping that up. Mars square Neptune is, I worry about confusion, and it really makes sense because when Mars goes retrograde, it's going to square Neptune again, and then it's going to go direct and square Neptune a third time. So there is this process, and it starts this second weekend from now. So 2 week, October 8th, Saturday, October 8th, with Mars coming into that square with Neptune. This may be a tricky situation. So note it down. You know, it's always nice to say, okay, remember what's going on around October 8th and 9th, because Mars was square Neptune and something may need to be redone. So whatever you're doing this weekend, you may need to revisit something. I would say probably into November, and then again maybe in March. Okay. But otherwise, I mean, Aries is an active energy. It does emphasize Mars. With the full moon in Aries will be ruled by Mars. I could see secrets being revealed around this time. But I could also see us really speaking our truth, what we believe. This has a lot to do with beliefs, and it has a lot to do with spirituality and religion. And I will say the full moon in Aries is going to be quite the healing moment. It's going to be conjoined to Chiron, so it's going to be nice. All right, so I'm off to do the rising sign now that you have a preview of the next few weeks, and hopefully it helps you plan. Hopefully I was concise. We'll see. But yeah, go watch your rising sign. And then also keep a lookout. Probably next week I'll come out with the Mars retrograde video, which is going to be worth watching, I think. So ecstaticastrology.com. Find me on YouTube. Hopefully I'll eventually get enough followers where I can have a dedicated link. Right now it won't let me have a YouTube link because I don't have enough followers. So tell all your friends to follow me, like, share, and subscribe if you will. I'm on Instagram, Ecstatic Astrology, Twitter, Ecstatic Astrology, Facebook, Ecstatic Astrology, even Tumblr. I think I'm on Tumblr. So yeah, please, if you'd like to book a session, ecstaticastrology.com. I would love to connect with you. I've had some really, really great sessions the last couple of weeks. It's just the fall's going to be insane. We had eclipses. We have Mars retrograde. Woo, buddy. Yeah. And I'll be here to update you all through it. All right. All my love for the new moon in Libra. It's going to be good. Let me share with you one time before I go. The quote I came up with for this new moon. I always like to find a quote to go along with it. And actually, it's two quotes. So I'm going to say that. All right, here we go. Wayne Dyer said both of these things. First, he said, the essential lesson I've learned in life is just to be yourself. Treasure the magnificent being that you are and recognize first and foremost, you're not here as a human being only. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And I think this was a separate quote from the second part of this. So this has to do with Jupiter and Aries and really understanding who you are and knowing your own truth. But then the new moon in Libra part with Venus moving into there is love is the ability and willingness to allow those that you care for to be what they choose for themselves without any insistence that they satisfy you. Notice how these things go hand in hand. You get to be yourself, Jupiter and Aries, but that means you also have to accept people for who they are. And that's the nature of this new moon. I'll leave you with that. See you on the flip side.